All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to SENS Talk. My name is Brandon. I'm your host. As you guys and girls obviously have heard, if you're a SENS fan, big news in SENS Nation. The Senators have acquired a couple of picks, a couple of players, and a pick. This coming with Filip Gustavsson and Ian Cole, and a first rounder for only Derek Brassard, which was acquired 18 months ago. I'm here joined by Trevor Shackles, a writer for the. What do you write? Where do you publish your stuff, Trevor?
Silver 7 Cents.
Silver 7 Cents, yeah. So that's the SB Nation blog for the Senators. Very well known, very respected. Trevor, what's your instant reaction on this deal?
Instant reaction. I think first thing to note is that Pierre LeBrun had tweeted something about this trade isn't actually official yet. 45 minutes ago, he tweeted this. He says there's still more details to come in the Pittsburgh-Ottawa trade. Perhaps a third team involved in some manner. Now, I will say that's probably involved with Ian Cole. Like, I would think that he's probably going back to a Metro team.
Yeah.
So that third team is probably getting Ian Cole, and Ottawa's probably getting maybe like a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick, something like that.
Yeah.
So if we analyze it like that, a first, like a mid-round pick and Filip Gustavsson, I think that's kind of what I expected at least. I think that's what most other people would have expected as well. I was definitely really hoping that Ottawa could pry Tristan Jarry away from the Penguins,
for sure.
But I think they were really reluctant to give up on him. Same thing with Daniel Sprong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm at least happy that they got a solid goaltending prospect who, he went in the second round in 2016. So this isn't some guy that is, the longest of long shots. He at least has a decent track record.
Yeah.
And he's probably, their best shot right now to replace Craig Anderson in a few years.
I agree. In fact, Filip Gustavsson, who played for Team Sweden this last World Juniors in the SHL in Sweden, he had a 917 save percentage and a 216 goals against average in 18 games played. In the World Juniors, he won the best goaltender of the tournament with a 924 save percentage and a crazy number for World Juniors, as we both know. In the World Juniors, there's a lot of goals scored, a 181 goals against average in 6 games played there. In 2016, like you said, when he was drafted in the second round by the Penguins, he was a top-ranked goalie prospect from the NHL Scouting Bureau. Like I've been saying for quite a while, Trevor, I've been wanting Trevor Shackles, but Filip Gustavsson is nothing not to be excited for, that's for sure.
Sorry, say that again. I missed that last part.
Obviously, we've been hoping for Tristan Jarry. You and I both can agree on that. Tristan Jarry looks to be really good, but Filip Gustavsson looks to have a good future. Don't you agree?
Definitely, yeah. I'm not entirely sure when they'll be coming over to the AHL, and I know a lot of Swedish prospects are kind of reluctant to do that, and you can see why with Marcus Högberg coming over this season, and he's hardly getting any time at all in Belleville. He's spending more of the time in the ECHL.
Yeah.
So Gustavsson is he's turning 20. I'm not sure if he's turned 20 yet, but he was born in 98, so he's 20 this year. So he's probably going to spend at least another year or two in Sweden.
Yeah.
But you're right. I do think that they're gonna expect a lot from him, and he may not be ready for the next few seasons. And that might signal that Ottawa knows that the next few years they're not going to be good.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they're going to end up trading Erik Karlsson, which is interesting.
Which is going to bring me to the next point. Travis Yost, he writes. He's a journalist, and he tweeted out not too long ago. The Senators are aggressively trying to trade Erik Karlsson and tying Bobby Ryan to that deal. And another domino effect is with this Gustafsson trade. It kind of shows, like you said, they're not trying to win now; they're trying to win in the next few years. And it's added on to the Bobby Ryan and Erik Karlsson rumors with Nashville and Tampa Bay, apparently the front runners for the Karlsson sweepstakes. We might be not, like I've been saying for a while, I've hoped for a rebuild in Ottawa, but it looks like a retool in Ottawa, not rebuild, but it looks like Pierre Dorion, Eugene Melnyk, and the Senators are going for a rebuild, tearing down the whole team.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, but it's infuriating. And I guess we can transition to this now if you wanted to, the Karlsson trade talk. And it's purely because of money.
Obviously.
Melnyk wants to shed the salary. He doesn't want to give Karlsson this long-term deal. And, fans had always said around 2011, that the year that they end up fifth last and getting Mika's advantage at sixth overall, they wanted the team to do a proper rebuild. And, the following season they made the playoffs and kind of thought they were better than they actually were. So they never really did a proper rebuild. But I just think now is the absolute worst time to do it. First of all, they don't have their first round pick
for next year
unless they want to give it up this year, right? So it's not even like you can tank for next season and hope for the first overall pick. So you're doing this while you have a decent core. You still, I mean, as of a couple hours ago, you still had Derek Brassard, but you still had Matt Duchene, Mike Hoffman, Mark Stone, Eric Carlson, Thomas Chabot. These are guys that you are supposed to build around. And if you had added just decent depth players, I think they could have been a decent team, but it seems like they just want to tear it down, and Melnick wants to save as much money as possible.
And I can agree with that because, like you said, the core of this team, and it really does, where the Senators are in the standings, the team, it just doesn't really make sense of how they've performed, because the core is, if you, like you said, young depth talent, like what the Penguins have been able to do, or the Blackhawks before this year have been able to do. If we could have just done that, cheap contracts like Melnick would have liked, the team would at least be in the playoff picture or in conversation. The team is, like we can all agree, poorly managed. It's all down to the money, and that is why the depth pieces weren't brought in during the offseason. You can't replace Mark Mathot with Johnny Oduya, and the loss of Victor Stahlberg, I think, hurt more than people would give credit to, because he was a speedy third liner with some scoring abilities. So I think the Senators this didn't do what they needed to do. They made a rookie mistake by thinking that this team was where they were going to repeat last year, when clearly they were going to have some regression, and they just were never able to adapt to the reality of the team.
Right, and I've written, I think last week in one of my articles, that every season the Senators, when they overachieve and make the playoffs and squeak in, they think that, they could have been a bit luckier and they could have gone deep in the playoffs, so therefore they don't do much in the offseason. And when they don't make the playoffs, they kind of, sorry, I'm mixing that up. When they do make the playoffs, they think they're good enough, so they don't do anything. And when they don't make the playoffs, they think they got a bit unlucky, and that, positive regression will happen the following season and they'll make the playoffs. And the thing is, a lot of the times they did. They haven't missed the playoffs back-to-back times since the mid-90s. So I guess you could say, they were right in that sense, but they were never better than, a bubble team. So it's not like, they did have that run to the conference finals last season, but besides that, they've never really been a strong contender. And that's because they believe too much in their team. But most of the time they're usually a team that's, in that 12 to 20 range in the league. Yeah,
and I can agree, because you can look back, like you said, in the recent past 6 to 7 years, we can all agree it comes down to the final dollar. And the past 6-7 years, the Senators have always had this core and young core that you should be able to build around. But for some reason, either it comes down to money, poor decisions like trading Silverberg for Bobby Ryan. There's always something the Senators do that backfires and screws up chances for them, because you could have had Ben Bishop, you could have had Silverberg, etc. And now you got a team now that's poorly managed, in the hot seat, trading potentially going to trade their best player ever, future Hall of Famer, third best in the world. It's just awful situation for Sens fans, you and I, and of course it's just a laughing stock in the league. I want to talk a little bit back to the trade, talking about Ian Cole, like we did mention, and Pierre LeBrun added on before. It looks like he'll be flipped for a prospect or a pick. But if he does not get traded, what do you like of Ian Cole?
Oh man, I don't really know, to be honest. I think he's a pretty meh third pairing defenseman. I don't know. I wouldn't really look up too much, or read up too much on him, because I'd be honestly floored if he was still with the Senators. He is a UFA in the offseason, and he's making $2.1 million. So Melnick, he definitely doesn't want to pay that. I think the main reason why they got him was because Pittsburgh needed to send money out. They couldn't just take Brassard's contract on his own. So, but if he's a third pairing defenseman who's fine, he's passable, I guess, but Ottawa has a bunch of those third pairing defensemen. They got Mark Borowiecki, they got Johnny Oduya, they got Ben Harper. Like, they don't need another one. So I'd be pretty surprised if we're talking about him as a member of the Senators, on Tuesday.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Continuing with like we were talking about, like with the potential rebuild with Ottawa, and it does look like that's what the Senators intend to do. Would you think who do you see being shipped out in the next 24 hours potentially? Like,
so
for sure.
I did predict yesterday actually this morning, that I said Brassard would go to Pittsburgh, which is correct.
Yeah.
And then I thought Johnny Oduya is definitely gone for sure. There's no real excuses why he should stay, considering he's a UFA and doesn't have a future with his team. So he could go to any of the
team in contention.
A depth defenseman.
Yeah.
Say that again.
No, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. Just any team in contention, like you said, would obviously be interested in Johnny Oduya.
Right. He's not, anything special or anything. But teams usually want that veteran defenseman. And then the last player I think that'll get moved is Zach Smith. He's making, I believe, $3.25 million for the next few years. And I think a team like Vegas could use them. Yeah. They've been interested. I know Calgary was interested in the past, but apparently they kind of backed off on him a bit. So I could see him getting moved to Vegas. I wouldn't expect anything more than a second round pick, maybe. Maybe it would even be lower, third. So I think those two trades will happen, and hopefully not Carlson.
Hopefully not Hoffman. But just to continue with Zach Smith, yesterday Michael Grabner was traded for a second rounder and a prospect. So considering he has 26 goals this season, Zach Smith only has 5 or 6, I believe. So I only see a third rounder coming back for him. But we did get a second round pick practically for Curtis Lazar. So anything could really happen. Yeah,
fair enough.
As well, George McPhee is also the same general manager who traded Martin Erat for Filip Forsberg. So realistically, if they really do like what they see in Zach Smith, you might, like you said, they might get a second rounder, but probably a third rounder is the more likely scenario with the trade possibility with Zach Smith.
Draft picks have weird values. Martin Hansel went for a first and a second last year, so
that's true.
I wouldn't sell at anything.
That's true. I can agree with that. But moving forward, you look at what the Senators are trying to do with Karlsson. I know we're going to repeat Karlsson a lot, but this is big news for any NHL team, because it's not every day you see a team, not a good season, but they're actively shopping their best player in franchise history. If Karlsson gets traded, God forbid, but if he is indeed dealt, and you can't replace Karlsson, so let's say they trade him to Tampa Bay and they get Sergachev and Point and whatever back. Even with those pieces, do you see the Senators re-signing after Mark Stone after this season? Because he's an RFA, he will return most likely unless he's offer sheeted, and as well Matt Duchene.
I think Stone will stay. I mean, Ottawa will have the money if they're not re-signing Karlsson. So I don't see that being an issue. And if Karlsson's gone, Stone is the obvious choice to be captain. Yeah. And Duchene's a tougher one. We haven't really heard his name in the rumor mill at all, honestly. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to move him. Yeah. Then again, they have moved Brassard. So I mean, there's only so many players you can move. You're gonna have to have an actual team playing out there. Yeah. So it's not inconceivable that the next good Senators team could have Matt Duchene on it in the next 3 years, maybe, even if they do move Karlsson. Yeah. So I think they could hang on to him. They'll definitely hang on to him at least through the deadline. That would be kind of surprised if they traded him. Yeah. But I could definitely see them re-signing both.
Yeah, and that is interesting. But like the interesting thing about that is I don't see Stone leaving. He clearly loves the city. But with Matt Duchene, he's been here for a short period, and I love Turris, the way he really helped this community. He was such a community man, such a good player on the ice and off the ice. But Matt Duchene, his skill behind the net and in front of the net is spectacular. He's in his prime now. Matt Duchene came here to win. And I do see a possibility the Senators, especially if they trade Karlsson, I don't see how Duchene is not definitely looked at to be traded during the summer, considering Duchene lots of times said that he wants to play for a contender, at least get a shot at the playoffs. And if Ottawa looking like it will be a rebuild, I don't see how he signs in Ottawa, and this is going to be an interesting offseason for the Sounders. Let's say Karlsson doesn't get traded this deadline. There's going to be quite speculation for the 2 months in the offseason, or as well during the draft. Can you possibly see all of Karlsson, Bobby Ryan, Matt Duchene, and potentially even Hoffman being traded in the summer?
See, I don't think all of them will get traded. With the amount of smoke that's around Karlsson and Ryan right now, I think both of those guys will end up getting dealt, whether that's by Monday or that's in the draft or in July or something like that. So I could see, this would be a massive deal because a team like Vegas or maybe Arizona would have to get involved. A team that has a lot of cap space to take on Bobby Ryan, while Tampa Bay would get Erik Karlsson. So I could see that happening. As for Hoffman, you said Hoffman and Duchene,
Duchene, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, because at what point do you stop, right? Like, at what point do you just go full scorched earth? I mean, they have to keep some guys, right? So,
but
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you look what Toronto did a few years ago, and especially with an owner like Eugene Melnyk, where money is everything, and with apparently Travis Yost as well tweeted out that the SENS ticket renewal process this week has been the worst in franchise history.
Yeah.
They're not making a lot of money now. They're not going to be making a lot of money, especially with the rumors of Karlsson. That I tend to believe that would affect the decision making with Duchene and Hoffman, because if there's no money coming in, Melnyk clearly wants to get money out.
Right. So that's one thing. I can't see him dealing everybody, because he knows he's going to have to sell tickets.
Yeah.
You can't just have your first line of Ryan Dzingel, Jean Gabriel Pageau, and Tom Pyatt or whatever.
For sure not.
You need a face, and at least Hoffman is a face, Duchene is a face. And to your point earlier, I'm not sure how willing Duchene is going to. I don't know how much he's going to want to stay in Ottawa.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ottawa would give him a contract though.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if he wants out, then he's gonna get traded. But I don't know. They're gonna have to keep somebody, and I think Stone is the guy they'll keep. Hoffman, I'm getting more optimistic that he'll stay.
Yeah.
But then again, if the season is going terribly next year too, and he wants out, then he could be gone as well.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how far they're gonna go with this, because this is just the beginning, honestly.
And I can agree. It's obviously a domino effect. The first deal, and everything's just going to fall, especially with less than 72 hours before the trade deadline. But interesting note, we continue with the ticket sales. What do you think the tenth is going to be next year, especially assuming the Karlsson deal happens? Hopefully not, but it looks like in the direction he's not going to be an Ottawa Senator starting next season, which is horrible to say, but it's just looking like that, unless the analysts are just trying to make a story. But when Bob McKenzie keeps on repeating it, it really makes you think. Do you think the attendance will get so bad that Eugene Melnyk will either be forced to sell, or like usual will stay stubborn and file to be relocated? What do you see? I'm not trying to bring relocation involved, but you know how stubborn Melnyk is, and ticket sales are not going to be coming easy. So what do you think on that front is going to happen?
Right. I can't see them getting relocated.
Yeah.
It's too good of a market. They're not going to move a Canadian market like this. I know they moved the Jets back in the 90s, but I just can't see it happening. And as for Melnyk, I feel like he's just, the second they get the LeBreton deal done, that could be, I don't know, 2 years from now or whatever. The second that happens, I think he'll sell. And I think I think it's pretty obvious what he's doing. He's cutting costs now, and then by the time he sells the team, he'll have more money.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that might backfire, because maybe the value of the franchise goes down in the year or two between now and the official sale of LeBreton. So I think he'll eventually sell, no matter what he says now. He says he's never going to sell the team until he dies, pretty much. But I just can't see that happening. As for the league intervening, I don't know what they could do, and what grounds they would have, because there's been some pretty horrible ownership groups around the league in the past, and I'm not too sure if anything has happened in the past. I haven't really read up much on previous ownerships, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and that sort of thing. So I just think in the end he'll sell the team, and hopefully it'll be a lot better situation in a few years. But I could definitely see the next few years being pretty sad and depressing, to be honest.
I could agree with you on that. Yeah. Going forward with this Melnyk talk, you look at the way he treats the fan base, like going back way into December with the Centennial Classic, something Sens fans just won't forget, and I can agree, I won't forget. That was the wrong time to bring that up, even if it was you could say a tactic for the Breton bid. It was unacceptable what he said, and that connection with the fan base, I don't think can be built back. Frankly, I don't think Eugene Melnyk wants to build that friendship back or that relationship back with the fan base and the ownership. But now you look at the locker room. Remember in January where the players and Pierre Dorion had a argument when Dorion spoke to the team in the locker room. Do you think there's with the attitude around the team and the unattractiveness it is the city, the Senators, what do you think? How do you think that would affect the players' decisions to remain an Ottawa Senator, even Mark Stone?
Right. I mean, I don't know why players would want to stay in this organization. To be honest, they're seeing cuts or costs being cut at every single corner. They're seeing their friends being traded away. They're seeing people being fired. There's a Luke Percy on Twitter mentioned today that there was no ushers in either the 300s or the 400s at the CTC, and that's just so pathetic.
It is.
There's so many stories we're hearing about how much how much or the lack of money that Melnyk is spending on this team, and so you're right. I don't know why players would want to stay, and I can't really blame Karlsson if his relationship with Melnyk and Dorion is souring. I think Stone will probably want to stay just because, he knows he'll get that captaincy. But then other guys, maybe Duchesne does want to go. I'm sure he at least has thought about leaving because his whole thing about leaving Colorado was that he wanted to go to a contender, and this is just awful. This is even worse than Colorado because this team has no plan.
It doesn't have a plan. And the worst part about the no plan is Pierre Dorion and Eugene Melnyk claim to have a plan, but they haven't shared that with us, and it leads to a lot of speculation. And they're not pouring the fire out on the Karlsson rumors clearly as of late, and they're extinguishing any rumor about Cody Ceci. This makes me this is horrible for the fan base. With all the money cutting plays by Eugene Melnyk, clearly no plan in place. This is just not fair for the Senators fan base, and this eerily reminds me of Jeffrey Luria and the Montreal Expos before they moved to Washington. Can you agree on that? It just seems very similar.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I tweeted this morning that it was related to Luria. I said that a few months ago I was laughing at the Miami Marlins situation, and now I'm just realizing that the Senators are, the NHL version of the Miami Marlins.
Awful.
So, and Luria owned that team. Obviously, you're referencing when he owned the
Montreal Expos.
It's the same thing. It's the same horrible owner that
disconnected with the fans.
Yeah, disconnected with the fans. I just don't see a scenario where this team is a true, legitimate contender, at least even for a couple seasons.
Yeah, and, going into this year, just bringing back the off-season moves. Moving away from the cost-affecting moves, because you could go a whole day talking about that, and realistically, it's no point to keep on talking about it because it's just not going to change until ownership has changed. Looking at this team, like we said, there's plenty of potential. Clearly, the Senators don't see that, and money gets in the eyes of the management crew that's very thin. You look at what happened this offseason, and I knew, like I said, I knew they would have some regression, but I didn't think they would be this bad. What do you think the main reason is the season for the Senators a dismal year?
I mean, if you're looking at teams who are at the bottom of the standings every year, pretty much every team has horrific goaltending.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of factors at play. There's, I would say only maybe 3 or 4 players have actually outperformed expectations this year. But if you have to just pin down one reason, it's definitely Craig Anderson and Mike Condon.
Yeah.
They've just been horrific this season. And I think I was definitely expecting regression from Mike Condon. You know, he wasn't that great in his stint in Montreal, and I didn't think he was a super capable backup. But I thought
decent.
Thought he could be a bit better.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been. You know, Craig Anderson has got a .902 save percentage in 45 games this year. Last year, .926.
Big
only
difference.
40 games, but still, you know, this is a guy who is the best goaltender in Senators franchise history, and Ottawa needs him to be good.
Yeah.
Every time that Anderson, and every season that Anderson was subpar or less, not as good that he normally was, they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that, honestly.
You can give credit to Guy Boucher for last year's run, but realistically, you look at every year the Senators have made the playoffs, and like you said, with the off and on years Craig Anderson has, it only happens when Anderson plays like the goaltender he is capable of. Like we can both agree, all contenders or all playoff teams, they all need a strong goaltender. And you can say all you want about Guy Boucher's system, but realistically, Craig Anderson faced over 30 shots a game on average last year. So with the difference of a 24.24 save percentage difference, that clearly is the indicator. And with the stubbornness with Guy Boucher before Nate Thompson, Dumont, etc. were given away, there's a lot of factors here. But when your goaltender isn't making saves, you're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that, honestly.
Yeah, and you know, let's hope Filip Gustavsson can be that guy, but a young prospect, and you know, I don't want to look too close into it, but it looks to be the Senators are going to go into a full rebuild.
It seems that way, unless they're going to, you know, maybe acquire another goaltender that's a bit closer to the NHL. I just don't see that happening, though. But yeah, you're right. I don't know. I mean, unless Craig Anderson reverts back to his old form next season, which, you know, is a possibility, but the way he's played this year and how slow he's looked, I wouldn't count on that, to be honest.
Besides that, Trevor, where can the viewers that are watching right now find your work?
So I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at ShackTS. And like I said at the beginning, you can read my articles at Silver7Sens. And so there should be tons of content up there the next few days leading up to the trade deadline.
Well, Trevor, I really appreciate you joining the show. It was a great discussion. Big trade for the Senators, looking to be a rebuild potentially, and I hope to have you on soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brandon.
And no worries. Thanks again.
Okay.
But, you know, thanks again to Trevor for joining the show. Besides that, thank you all for watching. Big trade for the Senators. Let me reiterate the trade. Filip Gustavsson to the Senators as well with Ian Cole and a first-round pick in 2018, which will, at best, will be a mid-round pick, considering the Penguins look to be a playoff team. And the Senators send over Derek Brassard, and Brassard now adding to that insane depth the Penguins have. First line Crosby, second line Malkin, and the third line Derek Brassard. The Penguins are going to be crazy good. Derek Brassard, I wish you all the best in Pittsburgh. And you know what? Have a good playoff. Thank you for everything you did in Ottawa. And welcome to the Senators, Filip Gustavsson and Ian Cole. And, you know, a lot more trades going to be happening very soon. You know, it's just the beginning of a large amount of trades the Senators are going to be able to make. Because, you know, like we've been saying for a while, it looks to be a rebuild coming up in Ottawa. So stay tuned for that. I will, like I said, I'll have a live stream show on Monday after the deadline, so probably around 4 or 5-ish, with a host that I will announce over the weekend. Very excited for that host as well. Not host, but guest. And we'll discuss the deals the Senators are 99.9% for sure going to make. But besides that, thank you for watching. Please follow us on Twitter at @SensTalk_. For live stream updates of the games, of course, breaking news. Please like us on Facebook, SensTalk. Add us to circles on Google Plus SensTalk. Click the big red button down there and subscribe to us. We're one subscriber away from 400. I really appreciate the support, guys and girls. As well, please check out our website, senstalkcentral.com. We update it every single day. And please check out our sponsor, cjohn.ca, using the code SENSTALK to get discounts in your Senators tickets. Besides that, thank you for watching and joining the special live stream show. To reiterate the trade, Derek Brassard goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Senators acquire Filip Gustavsson, goaltender, Ian Cole, who will probably be flipped in the next coming days, and a first-round pick in 2018. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. The next SENS game is Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time versus the Philadelphia Flyers. And this is the first trade, and like I said, an effect that's going to continue for the Senators. And on Saturday at 2 p.m., there might be more players dealt. But besides that, thank you all for watching. Appreciate everyone watching currently, and I hope to see you guys soon when the Senators take on the Flyers, and I do my live stream for the trade deadline on Monday. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Go Sens, go.